Hey, honey,
Yes, Barry?
let's get out of here.
Where are we going?
Where do we always go?
Fascina el viento, este ritmo de palmas, sin naturaleza, hasta encontrar la playa. Por eso grito al mundo, yo soy de Puerto Vallarta. Samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar. Samba de Puerto Vallarta.
Hello, fellow travelers, and welcome to this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. I'm your host, Barry Kessler, and I'm just so happy to be introducing you to my favorite vacation destination. Hey, maybe it's even yours, and that's Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. That music you're listening to is performed by Alberto Perez, and Alberto is the owner of the Lapa Lapa group of restaurants here. Those are the Lapa Lapa, Puerto Vallarta's oldest restaurant on the famous Los Muertos Beach, and the El Dorado Restaurant and Beach Club right next door. So you can enjoy that fantastic view of the Los Muertos Pier, all lit up at night in beautiful colors, or during the day in its grand splendor. For breakfast, lunch, or dinner, seated with your toes in the sand right at the water's edge. It's so romantic. It's so Puerto Vallarta, my friends. This week, I have a couple interesting interviews. The first is Conor Watts. Conor is from Los Muertos Brewing, and he's going to tell us about his new restaurant that he's in the process of building. It's called El Granero, or The Barn. And then you're going to meet a family who I ran into in May. They were parked in their bus, which they had converted to an RV. It was right on the Malecon, right next to the lighthouse. They actually began their journey at the very tip, the very southernmost part of South America in Patagonia, and they were sitting right there in Puerto Vallarta, but their intention is to make it all the way to Alaska. So I have very interesting stories from them and from Conor. But before we get to both of them, let's see what's happening this week in Puerto Vallarta, the 11th of September, 2019. Independence Day is coming, folks, September 16th, and that means that we're going to have proclamations, parades, ceremonies, traditions will be followed, and there are going to be 4 days of celebrations during the Independence Day festivities in Puerto Vallarta. Things start off on the 13th, and they go all the way through the 16th of September. On the night of the 15th, there's going to be the traditional Grito de Independencia ceremony right in the town square. And there'll be fireworks and music and all that other great stuff. That's on the night of the 15th. And on the 14th, the Charros are going to come to town with their traditional Charro Day Parade on the Malecon. Let me read from their Facebook page. It says, every year, in celebration of Mexico's Charros tradition, Puerto Vallarta honors Charro Day with a parade and performance. At 10 in the morning, more than 100 members of the Union of Puerto Vallarta Charros Association and delegations from other Latin American countries will parade through town with great clamor. The parade starts at Lazaro Cardenas Park and ends at the McDonald's on the end of the Malecon. I have a link to that in the show notes, so if you're in town, you're in for a real treat. Remember, that's 10 o'clock, and that's going to be on the 14th. It looks like Uber is looking to unionize in Puerto Vallarta. I have an article here from Observatorio Bahia Online. The Confederation of Mexican Workers could receive unions that are formed from Uber or other digital platforms once they are regularized in Puerto Vallarta, Rafael Yerna Zambrano said. The Secretary General of the CTM in Jalisco said the above when questioned about the possibility of forming a union of public transport workers based on digital platforms once they will be regularized in the city. If they decide to organize, it can be done, he says, but first they have to be regularized so that there is a fair competition with taxi drivers. It should be remembered that the Secretary of Transportation of the state of Jalisco, Diego Monraz Villaseñor, said a few days ago that the Puerto Vallarta digital platforms would begin the process of regularization starting next September 17th of this month. In that sense, the labor hierarchy declared that if they wanted to join the CTM, that they could be formed with the workers, and an organization of the car owners could also be made, such as the ones that we have with the taxi drivers. In the taxi drivers, we have an organization that is of the permit holders and another organization that the taxi drivers. It should be remembered that CTM was one of the organizations that most opposed the existence and regularization of digital platforms in the coastal city of the state of Jalisco. So they're looking to unionize Uber. Okay, well, we'll see how that shakes out. We'll see how they can ruin that one, right? But see, talking about ruining stuff, Mexico's going to start charging a value-added tax to Airbnb owners. A further step in the regulation of digital accommodation platforms is underway. So here we go with the modifications issued by Ministry of Finance and Public Credit to the miscellaneous tax, in which the hosts must pay the taxes corresponding to the business activity. In accordance with the criteria for the value-added tax law, individuals or corporations that grant temporary use or enjoyment of goods must pay the tax at a rate of 16%. The document details what's meant by temporary enjoyment of assets and so forth. Although there is an exemption from the income tax of a real estate, it does not apply to spaces that are furnished, destined as a hotel, or destined as a lodging. Let's see, where else can we read here? Anyway, the lodging contract is given when someone lends the shelter to another through the agreed remuneration, whether or not they agree to provide complimentary services. The contract may be tacit or by signature. In the case of technological platforms, the service is contracted by on certain days. The rate is paid per day, and a minimum period is not established for the service to be granted. Details the document through which it argues why the host must pay the ISR. So, there we go. I got this article from the Mazatlan Post, and I have a link to it as well. So here we go. Regularization is on its way. First, we're talking about Uber, and next we're talking about our favorite, that's right, Airbnbs. So, I guess we'll see how all of these things shake out. The new 200 peso note is coming. I have an article here from Mexico News Daily. It says goodbye to Sister Juana. The new 200 peso note is coming in September, and the new note will feature Mexican independent icons Miguel Hidalgo and Jose Maria Morelos. Feminist poet and nun Sister Juana Inés de la Cruz will no longer adorn Mexico's 200 peso notes once the new bills go into circulation in September. The Bank of Mexico has announced that the new bills will feature the countenance of Mexican independence icons Miguel Hidalgo and Jose Maria Morelos. The bill's reverse side will feature an image of the Pinacate y Gran Desierto de Altar Biosphere Reserve, which is a protected ecoregion in the Sonoran Desert. Banixio's Alejandro Alegre told the newspaper Milenio that bills are changed for three reasons. One, to apply more elements that will prevent counterfeits. The second is to make them out of more durable and longer-lasting materials. And the third is to incorporate features that will aid the visually impaired and the money-counting machines in identifying them. The 200 peso note is the second denomination to undergo design change. Last year, Banexio issued the new 500 peso bill, which replaced the faces of painters Frida Kahlo and Diego Rivera with that of the former President Benito Juarez. The change, along with that of the bill's color to blue, has caused confusion because it resembles a 20 peso note, which is also blue. But the latter, the 20 peso note, will gradually be taken out of circulation and replaced by a coin. The 20 peso bill costs less to manufacture but lasts 40 months in circulation, said Alegre, whereas the coin costs more than printing a bill but lasts more than 30 years in circulation. So the change makes better use of public resources. One feature of Mexican currency that will not change, and for which it stands apart internationally, is the difference in the sizes of the denominations. This is another feature that helps the visually impaired to identify the bills. And I have a link to that Mexico News Daily article in the show notes. So, I was wondering, this is Independence time, and Miguel Hidalgo is showing up now on the new 200 peso note. And I always wondered what ever happened to Miguel Hidalgo de Castilla after he gave that grito, right? What was that grito? The grito de independencia, well, it's, as you might recall from previous years, from previous podcasts, the grito, or the cry of Dolores, is a historical event that occurred in the town of Dolores, in Mexico, in the early morning of September 16th, 1810. Roman Catholic priest Miguel Hidalgo y Castilla rang the bell of his church, and he gave the proclamation that triggered the Mexican War of Independence from Spain. The exact words were never written down, but the essential spirit of the message is, and I'll read from Wikipedia here, "My children, a new dispensation comes to us today. Will you receive it? Will you free yourselves? Will you recover the land stolen 300 years ago from your forefathers by the hated Spaniards? We must act at once. Will you defend your religion and your rights as true patriots? Long live Our Lady of Guadalupe. Death to bad government. Death to the Spanish." And thus began the 10-year battle for independence. But, like I asked earlier, what ever happened to Miguel Hidalgo? It is a very interesting story. I mean, sure, he met the firing squad like so many of the rebels and revolutionaries of his time, but it's what happened to his head, which I find mind-blowing. It all began with a woman, folks, and, doesn't it always? Sure it does. The woman's name was Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez, and Josefa was the wife of the magistrate of the city of Querétaro. She was a housewife who mainly took care of their 14 children, but Josefa was a bit of a rebellious type. She had a soft spot in her heart and in her soul for Native Indians, the indigenous population, those who were relegated to second-class citizens with second-class jobs, second-class roles in society. So she organized a sort of a secret literary society, and she invited these people to learn. Of course, this was not really allowed in Spanish society in Mexico, but this literary society eventually evolved into somewhat of a political society, which attracted figures such as Father Hidalgo, Ignacio Allende, who was a captain of the Spanish Army, Juan Aldama, who was a captain in the Queen's Cavalry Regiment, Jose Mariano Jimenez, who was an engineer from San Luis Potosi. These meetings, they actually turned from books to revolution. Now, last year we talked about the strange events that happened in Spain that prompted many people in New Spain, in Mexico, to begin to worry about their stuff, about their futures, and also to think about the idea of freedom from Spain. These revolutionaries began to collect and store weapons and supplies and kept them in various homes around Querétaro with the intention of beginning the revolution on the 8th of December. But their plan was changed because there was a rat among the revolutionaries, spilled the frijoles, so to speak, and reported it to higher-ups, who in turn turned to Josefa Ortiz's husband, Miguel Dominguez, who was the magistrate of Querétaro. They were not aware that Miguel's wife was actually part of the conspiracy. They asked Miguel Dominguez to round up the conspirators. So Miguel Dominguez had his wife locked up in her room so she couldn't get word out to her co-conspirators, and went off to try to collect these rebels. But eventually, she was able to get a warning out before the rebels could be rounded up, and they cut out of town. They left Querétaro, and they escaped to the town of Dolores, where Miguel Hidalgo de Castillo gave his famous grito in the early morning hours of September 16th, 1810. Now, after the priest gave the grito, the Spanish loyalists began to worry for their safety after hearing that Hidalgo's first target would be the capture of Guanajuato. And in Guanajuato, there's a place called the Alcántara de Granaditas, and it was a big building. It was built to store grain, and is built as a big warehouse. The huge building had thick walls and only one big wooden door. The local loyalists, the soldiers, their families, they all took shelter in the Alhambra, and they awaited the arrival of the rebel forces, which took their time. They scoured the countryside, picking up recruits, and built up a large army of of rebels. They were mainly just untrained folks with rocks and slingshots and knives and swords and arrows, and, well, there were 500 or so people inside the Alhambra, and there were 20,000 rebels on the outside. The folks on the inside were asked to surrender by Hidalgo, and they refused, and so the building was attacked. There was a famous rebel hero that arose from this attack. His name was El Pipila. El Pipila was born as a cripple, and due to his unusual manner of walking, he was given the nickname of El Pipila, which is the turkey. El Pipila became the champion of Guanajuato and Mexico. He's remembered so fondly by the city that for so many years tormented the poor crippled guy. And this is the description from GuanajuatoMexicoCity.com about what happened. El Pipila, not fearing for his safety, strapped a large stone on his back, picked up a bucket of tar, grabbed a flaming torch, and ran at the only weak point of the structure, the wooden door. On his dash to the door, the stone on his back protected him from arrows of the Spanish defenders. Once at the door, he coated it with tar and set it alight with his torch. The fire weakened the solid wood door, and the smoke limited the sight of the archers, allowing others to rush the door, and then the rioters forced open the door and flooded into the Alhambra de Granaditas. All the inhabitants were slaughtered, including the women and children. All of their treasures were stolen, and that, my friends, was the first action of the rebels in the fight for independence. The city of Guanajuato was sacked, and at that point, I think Hidalgo decided that he would not attack Mexico City in order to avoid a complete massacre like the one that happened in Guanajuato. Now, on November 25th, just a couple months later, 1810, Guanajuato was retaken by loyalist forces, and the rebel defenders that were there and did not escape were put to death. In January, the rebel army was in retreat after being badly beaten at the battle for Calderon Bridge near Guadalajara, and it was at that place on the outskirts of Zacatecas where Allende took over the command of the insurgent army from Hidalgo, who was not a trained soldier, he was a priest. And then the insurgents headed north to the northern Mexican state of Coahuila. Ultimately, they hoped to cross into Texas and to get arms and resupplied in the United States. But it was then that the leaders of the rebellion, Miguel Hidalgo, Ignacio Allende, Juan Aldama, and Jose Mariano Jimenez, were captured. They were betrayed by a double agent by the name of Ignacio Elizondo Villarreal. He is known as the Benedict Arnold of the Mexican Revolution, and they were captured at a place called the Wells of Bejan in Coahuila de Zaragoza. And that whole episode of deception, the story of their capture, that story in itself, well, we'll get to that in another episode. But on the 21st of March, 1811, just 6 months after delivering the Grito of Dolores, Miguel Hidalgo and his co-conspirators, along with many others that were captured that day, were taken to Chihuahua for trial, condemned to death, and executed by firing squad. July 30th, 1811. Also another story for another day. Very interesting story about the execution of Miguel Hidalgo. But the next thing that happened is the mind blower, folks. The commander of the royalist forces that retook Guanajuato and the Alhóndiga de Granaditas, Felix Maria Cajella, ordered the heads of Miguel Hidalgo, Ignacio Allende, Juan Aldama, and Jose Mariano Jimenez to be removed from their bodies and taken back to Guanajuato. And when they arrived on October 1811, the heads were hung in cages. Each cage was hung on one of the corners of the Alhóndiga with the following inscription: the heads of Miguel Hidalgo, Ignacio Allende, Juan Aldama, and Mariano Jimenez, famous criminals and leaders of the revolution who pillaged and stole goods from God and the royal treasury. Nailed here by order of the king's Brigadier Felix Maria Cajella. And there the heads remained in the cages until March 28th, 1821, 10 years later after independence. And today, the Alhóndiga de Granaditas is a regional museum. And that, my friends, is the answer as to what happened to the head of Miguel Hidalgo de Costilla, the priest, the conspirator, and the patriot. And as I said, there's a great story about the capture of the rebels at the Wells of Bajan, and I'm going to tell you about that as well. And also I'll tell you what happened to the woman who started it all, Josefa Ortiz de Dominguez. We'll talk about that next week, while Patriots Week is winding down, okay? But until then, let's get to the interviews, shall we? Last time I was in town, I ran into Conor Watts from Los Muertos Brewing. I've had Conor on the show before, and I ran into him when he was out walking his dog. He said he had a surprise for me. So he told me about the fact that he was making some changes and that he had some special plans in store. So I got together with him at the restaurant in the morning before they opened up, sat down, and we talked about his plans. So let's go right now, right, to Lazaro Cardenas 302 and Los Muertos Brewing, and let's talk with Conor Watts. Conor, thanks for coming back on the show.
It's my pleasure to be back.
Tell us what you've got something really, really exciting happening. You got a new project coming along here?
Yes, I think on the last show I referred to the fact that we had come to capacity at our brewery here at Los Muertos Brewing Company, as we all currently know it. And in the last year, we have been able to find a new property that's just a block away, which is going to house a brand new brewery and a brand new restaurant concept.
Oh, okay. So you're going to have two restaurants and two breweries.
I'm going to have two restaurants. I'm only going to have one brewery, I think. The idea is still in flux, but my original idea was to have the two breweries and brew all of my bigger beers, my more consistent beers, anything that I distribute over in the new brewery, and use my current brewery as a pilot system. However, one of the big motivating factors beyond extra capacity of having the new brewery was to have something that was more professionally done, that would instantly raise our efficiency and really help us with our consistency with every beer. So once we have that system, it's going to be difficult to want to come back to the current mothership and make a real good beer.
Yeah, that makes sense, right? You're gonna the whole reason you're doing this is to get that going, you know. So tell us about the concept. You have it all ready?
It's still very much in flux. We came up with our name is going to be El Granero, and that translates to the barn. So we're really going to try to capture some rustic elements and natural elements in the ambiance of the place. It's very, very tall ceilings, sort of has an elegant end to it, but we want to focus on Old Town Vallarta and keep old, ugly, rustic-looking bricks, which in my mind are beautiful.
They are.
And so my architect is rolling his eyes at me a lot because we have sort of this elegant floor plan, and everything I try to tell him to do as far as the finishes, he's like, well, that's kind of ugly and cheap. But in my opinion, if we do it right, it becomes really classy.
Exactly. Wow. Okay. So you are now. You're going to make that outside of that building look rustic as well? Are you going to blend it in?
It's going to be a little bit of a blend. The zone that we're in down here in Vallarta right now has a massive amount of redevelopment happening, but this side of town is still called Viejo Vallarta. And while the development is what it is, it's definitely modernizing a lot of the feel in our neighborhoods. So we're not going to leave it how the building was, sort of with the falling apart look to it. But yes, we are going to have some natural brick and some arches, and it should be a nice blend to hold on to some of those old architectural elements, but have the functionality of a little bit more modern look.
Good for you. That's great. So where is this place?
It's 1 block north of Los Muertos Brewing Company. It's right across from the Pollo Feliz, which is a pretty good landmark that most people know about. And it's significantly bigger. It's about 5 times the footprint of what we have here.
Wow.
And our brewery is actually going to take the entire size of Los Muertos, as anybody who's ever been here knows.
Dude, wow. Oh, that's going to be quite an operation you got going there. So you've really expanded this, right? I mean, there's people that are buying, a lot of people buying your beer?
We still don't have a salesperson buying any of our beer for off-premise, but we designed this brewery and this restaurant basically for all on-premise. So if you come in the middle of winter at the highest time, we can't make the best pizza that we want to make. It cooks, it looks beautiful on the top, but our oven stones can't stay warm enough, so it doesn't crisp up on the bottom perfectly. Does it still taste great? Yes. Do people who've never had it before think it's really good pizza? Yes. But I have gotten some feedback of, hey, it's not as good.
It's different.
It's different, and it might even be better in your to-go pizza location. I'm like, yes, it should be better in my to-go pizza location. It's a bigger oven doing less pizzas. So that also applies for the beer here. And not so much the quality, but it was designed in our fermentation tanks and our aging tanks and all of that stuff to be able to serve the amount of beer that we could sell here.
Right.
And we were pretty much right. And as more and more people want more beer to sell other places, that's where it's really given us the urgency of finding a way to get a bigger brewery and be able to scale our capacity. The day that we open the brewery over there, we will have 6 times the capacity that we currently have, and we will be able to double that and then double that again.
Whoa. All right. Right. Big plans.
Well, I'm still struggling with knowing what I want to be when I grow up.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens then. I'm running out of time to figure that out.
Okay.
So I want to be able to have enough beer to service this Los Muertos location, the new Granero restaurant, and to-go restaurant, or any other Los Muertos things. And then if the demand presents itself and we do get a salesperson, it would be nice to be able to provide beer locally.
Nice. All right, so I didn't know that you had a pizza place. I mean, like a delivery place. What do you got?
We have a delivery place. It's over on Francisco Villa, sort of near the Costco area.
Yeah.
And we opened that a few years ago, and it's a very different concept than what we have here, as it's very much a to-go pizza place. It's still called Los Muertos Brewing, but we don't sell a ton of beer there because we don't have an in-house dining room. And our dining room is, generally speaking, not terribly full because it's a little itty-bitty thing. I mean, it's easy to fill up, but it just doesn't have the same ambiance that we have here. So we opened that up to take pressure off of our to-go demand from this location because we already know, we knew that we couldn't sustain it. So the day that we opened that up, we eliminated about 80% of our delivery area from the downtown Los Muertos location, and it's fantastic, and we're really happy to have it. But we are trying to acquire the building that it's in has two other locales that are a stainless steel shop and a beauty salon, and they are open sometimes. And the stainless steel guys actually have their own building that they're planning to move into, and they've been assuring us that transition is going to happen next month, and that's been happening for about 18 next months.
Okay, yeah.
So when we do if we can ever expand that location and have a dining room, and with the way the building's situated, we're planning on air conditioning that dining room, which is very different than what we have here at Los Muertos with the open concept that could never be air conditioned.
Right.
And once we do that, we're very excited that we will have a rapid increase in beer sales the day the dining room opens.
Sure.
Which will again put a lot of demand on our little 8-barrel system that we currently have.
Yeah. All right, so when are you planning on opening this?
The construction for the building is guaranteed. I don't know exactly how that will be interpreted, to be done this year. If we can, we're planning to finish it in phases. My brewery is scheduled to be delivered at the very beginning of July, and then I get to be a big kid playing with Legos and start putting it together and figuring out the steam system and the glycol system and all that. Once we have that, we will start brewing there, and once we've brewed at least all of our major beers, our plan is to keep Los Muertos open through our street party, which this year will be on November 2nd. And then on the following Monday, close Los Muertos, move it to the new location, do some remodeling here, and move back before the middle of December. So I'm very trustworthy still and ambitious of what building can be done, but clearly that can be flexible. But yeah, with the idea of the brewery being over there, we'll be able to adjust how we do things here to make it a lot better for flow and easier to work in, and sort of increase our restaurant side efficiency. And that's a big goal of ours, because last year it was a little hectic.
I bet. Well, you guys are always busy. I mean, you guys are always busy, and you know what to do to get people in here. Obviously, you got these great specials, and want to tell everybody what your great specials are?
Well, the one that gets the most publicity is our lunch special, which is a 75 peso slice of pizza, fries or a salad, and a drink. And that drink includes a craft beer. So today, that's a little less than, or about $4 to get pretty much lunch with a nice craft beer.
Lunch with a buzz.
And it's extremely popular. So we do a bunch of local specials for anybody who lives in Mexico and has any sort of ID to prove that. We do pretty good happy hour specials all day on Tuesday, and then we have our happy hour special daily for everybody. And it's a good way for us to give back and give people the opportunity to try something that they might not otherwise want to try. Some people don't want to pay all that much for a beer that they're not sure they're going. If it's something brand new, they don't want to have something that they're like, oh, that's no good. And we'll certainly take back a beer if you don't like it. But if you just don't like IPAs, we don't, generally speaking, replace those. If you don't know what it is and you're like, wow, that's bitter. Buyer beware for a different style of beer. But it's a really nice way for people to be able to say, well, I've never seen a beer that looks like motor oil. Like, I wouldn't think I would want to try that. And when they try the stout, and it's like, it's creamy, it's got some sweetness, it tastes like chocolate and coffee, and it's not made with chocolate or coffee, but each palate has their own. They sort of pull those flavors out of our grain bill, and off and away you go, and now you've got a new favorite beer.
Wow. Yeah. That's a great way to do it. I mean, and not just that, but people, when they get in here and they see how much fun it is here to sit, you're surrounded by all kinds of people having a good time. It's a reason to come back.
It really is. We see a lot of people who live down here daily or multiple times a week. And we see a lot of people who are on vacation that come and visit us a lot. And that makes us pretty proud. And whether that's a quality or an ambiance or a value perception, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever bone I'm tickling that makes them feel good, by all means. I like to have multiple reasons for somebody to like us. If they like my taste, my quality, or my ambiance, all those things I want to excel at.
Excellent. It shows. It shows that
Thank
you
you.
do. All right. So what is the address? What is the exact address of the new place?
It's 333 Madero.
333 Madero, and it's going to happen.
It should be open by the beginning of next season. The building is more than just the restaurant, so I think that's part of what is slowing it down some. It's not a condo building by any means, but we are going to have some office space. We're going to have a parking area, which is
Really?
semi-top secret. It's not a public parking area.
Oh, okay.
It's more for managers and employees, and that allows us to eliminate some of the demand on the parking on the streets, which everybody knows is nearly impossible.
Exactly. Wow. Well, all right. Well, we're going to be looking forward to this, and hopefully you'll send me some pictures along the way as things progress.
Absolutely.
And we'll talk about it as things progress along the year, and I can't wait to see what you've done beginning of next season.
I appreciate the opportunity to talk to you again. It's been great to see you.
Thanks for coming on again. Really, Conor.
My pleasure.
Okay, well, I have pictures. Thanks, Conor. Pictures of Conor's progress. They're in the show notes, so go take a look at them if you want to. He tells me that they are progressing slowly but surely. And when I get back into town next month, I will be talking to him again. So stay tuned for a follow-up, and we'll see what's going on with the new restaurant. Now, you never know what you're going to see or find on the Malecon in Puerto Vallarta. Malecon is the boardwalk in the town. And last time I was down, they were having the Down Vallarta BMX exhibition that they've been having every May for the last couple of years. And I also found a bus. There was a bus parked on the Malecon. It was a bright green bus with a map drawn on it, some murals, had a sign on the back asking for gas money. And the couple in the bus, they had some card tables set up in front of it, and they were displaying books and so forth. And these people, what they did was they converted this bus into an RV, and they were on an adventure. They were traveling from the southernmost tip of South America in Patagonia to their intended destination, which is going to be Alaska. I was intrigued. As you know, I'm always fascinated by people who choose to travel outside of the normal modes. I'm sure that you are too. So I asked Matu if he would talk with me, and he told me that his wife, Shanty, was a better English speaker than he was. So Shanty agreed to talk with me. Her name is Shanty Gorlou, and she is from Belgium. She gave away her small photography business to her employees before taking off on her adventure. She had no return ticket, and she purchased an old retired city bus outside of Buenos Aires. So I sat down with Shanty, and I asked her, what's this all about? And she told me. So let's go right now to the Malecon in Puerto Vallarta, right next to the lighthouse, and let's meet the couple who've been traveling by bus for over 13 years. That's right, 13 years. Let's talk with Shanty Gorlou about her bus, El Bicho Latino. Hey, what's your name?
Hi, they call me Shanty.
Shanty. Shanty, what's this bus? What's this bus doing on the Malecon?
Well, it's my house, actually.
It's your house.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Now you have some splaining to do. I see you've got all kinds of cool stuff written on the side. Tell us, what's going on?
Well, actually, it's an old passenger bus made in Argentina. It's an old Mercedes-Benz. And 14 years ago, I saw the bus and I bought it and I converted it in my house.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
And I travel with my house.
Where did you buy it?
It comes from Argentina, from Buenos Aires, close to Buenos Aires.
Okay. And you converted it into your house. So it has, obviously, all the things that you need in the home. What's different about this than a regular house?
Well, it has wheels. I think this is the difference. In the beginning that we started to travel, it wasn't like that. We built it actually on the way. Uh-huh. I think in every country we did something, or we changed something, or
you made
or make furniture, and we have beds and toilet and shower.
Right. Okay, so you've converted this bus into an RV, basically, right? A recreational vehicle.
Yeah.
So now I see on the map on the side of this bus that you are following a path, right? You started somewhere and you're heading somewhere. So tell us about that.
Well, actually, I started to travel alone. I bought this bus when I was alone, and my idea was going to Mexico, make a trip. And everybody asked me, and how long do you think it's gonna take you to go to Mexico? And I thought maybe 2 years. It seems a lot of time traveling, 2 years. So I thought maybe in 2 years I reach Mexico.
Starting from where?
From Argentina. I knew I hadn't the money to do this whole travel, so I thought to work on the way and reach Mexico.
Okay, and how long's it been?
Well, that was the first plan, but when I go more to the south, I went first to Ushuaia. That's the most south city in the world.
Okay.
And I thought I go to Ushuaia, and from there I just go north. And on the way I met Matu. Matu is from Patagonia, and I invite him to drink a coffee in the bus. And he just stayed.
What a great story, really. Well, Matu, he seems like a really nice guy. I can understand why you'd let him stay.
Yeah.
So
the idea was to go to Mexico. So in Brazil, we ran out of money. I had some economies, but in Brazil we hadn't any money anymore. We didn't speak Portuguese. So then starts actually the real adventure.
Yeah, I should say so. You run out of money in a foreign country and can't speak the language, and that's trouble sometimes, right?
Yeah.
So what happened?
So the first thing I did, I took a carton and I wrote, I asked that people help us with 5 liters of diesel or something to eat. And we put it on the back of the car. Of the bus, and people come to see us the same day and ask, "Oh, and what are you doing? And where are you going?" And people start to help us, offer us to make a small work or anything, and so we decided to continue. and we are already 13 years on the road.
Wow. So that's how you keep going? Are you ask for contributions and they help?
Well, actually, we're not living from the contributions.
Okay.
This was the first SOS message we put, but we quickly start to find a way to have some money who comes in without asking for it.
Good. That's a whole lot more comfortable, isn't
yes,
it?
of course. And we did a lot of things in 13 years. In the beginning, we start to teach photography or digital images, working on digital images. I make food to sell, all small things that help us to put diesel in the bus and food. And since 8 years maybe, again, 8 years ago, we make a first book in Venezuela. We had 5 years traveling in that moment, and we wrote a book to tell about our story.
Fantastic. All right. So there comes some income that way, right?
So we start to sell our book and T-shirts with our designs. And well, now we are in Mexico, here in Puerto Vallarta, with our second book that we make here in Mexico.
Yeah.
And we live of the selling of our books and our T-shirts.
Wow. Okay. Now that's a good way to. Now that's a much better way than putting up a sign on the back of your
Yes,
bus.
but we still have the sign on the back.
Oh, good. Okay, good. All right. And as we should, right? You can always use all the help you can get.
And it's also to show people we are not simple tourists. We are travelers, and we do the things not because we have a lot of money, but we do it because.
The adventure of it, huh?
Yes.
I would say that's right. And it's a lot of adventure. What? Besides running out of money, have you had any crazy things happen during your adventure? I mean, we're talking many years now.
Yeah. Well, in Peru, I get pregnant.
Oh.
Yeah. And in the jungle of Ecuador, I thought babies born everywhere, so let's continue to travel and see where she want to be born, the baby. And in the jungle of Ecuador, she decided that she wants to be born there, so she's born in the middle of the jungle.
Oh wow. Oh wow. So does that make her Ecuadorian?
She have an Ecuadorian passport. Yes, of course.
Yeah. How about that? Look at that. What's her name?
She's Saina. Her name is Saina.
Oh.
She's 11 now.
11 now.
11
Unbelievable.
years.
And all she knows is the road.
She's born in the bus, and that's her house.
Wow. So are you, obviously you're schooling her yourself?
Yes, of course.
Of course. So she's
Yeah.
going to know a whole lot more than most people do. That is
yeah.
for sure.
Oh, yeah.
All right. So did you go through Venezuela?
Yes.
Tell me about Venezuela.
Well, Venezuela was really an incredible country. People were so nice with us. They're very happy. A very happy country, and not they help us, they adopt us.
Really?
Yeah, and it was really a very nice country with wonderful beaches and wonderful nature. And because it's so dangerous, we had that all for us alone.
Really?
So we liked a lot Venezuela.
Yeah.
Now it changed a little bit. Huh? It was already difficult, but now the country.
Yeah, it's more difficult for sure.
Yes, now
Yeah.
the situation is it's not a good moment to visit Venezuela now.
Yeah, unfortunately. Of the places that you've been so far, what were you most impressed with? What do you like the best?
I think the people.
Yeah?
When we start to travel, we lost our faith in people, but we realized that there's more good people than bad people, and that the people really want to make better the world.
Yeah, they're generous too.
Yeah, they're
aren't they? And they're
generous.
curious and
And they have everywhere they have the same dreams. They all searching the same things.
Yeah, they are. How about beauty? How about pretty places?
Well, we spend a lot of time in the Amazon and different places, Brazil, in English Guyana, Suriname, French Guyana. The Amazon is also incredible.
Wow.
I just talked this morning with a woman. She said she went to the Amazon and she didn't saw any animal. I say we had the same when we start because we came from cities and we were disconnected with the nature. And if you live a while in nature, you start to connect again, and then you start to discover there's a lot more life around you than you saw in the beginning.
Yeah, it's you got to look closer.
Yes, and I can't explain it, but it's like your sentence come back and you realize, you look on the side and you know something is there, and then you found a snake, and we contact again with the nature. When we stay so long in Amazon, we connect again.
Yeah, especially when you turn around and look at the snake and jump 15 feet in the air and scream. Any particular country that's your favorite so far?
It's difficult to choose one. Till now, we drove. We don't drove through the countries. We visit every country and work with the people and live with the people and share with them. So we try to stay in the country till we know better. Not only driving through. Until now, we went in 18 countries, and there is not one that I say that's not where to go. Every country have beautiful places. Latin America is incredible.
Yeah, I should say so. And how did you find? How'd you find Costa Rica? How'd you like that?
Whoa, Costa Rica is a small country, but they preserve very good the nature. It's very worth to go there. It's nice.
It's beautiful, I understand.
You have mountains, volcanoes, a lot of water. The two seas, the Caribbean and the Pacific, and
nice.
We laughed.
What did you think of Nicaragua?
Nicaragua, it's central. Well, Nicaragua, Honduras. We stay maybe 3 months in these two countries, and the atmosphere is a bit.
Is it a little tense?
Yes, a little bit tense. I didn't found my English is not so good.
Your English is great, my dear. Okay.
There's a lot of problems in these countries, security problems, but the people are also nice. Really, we make a lot of friends.
Yeah.
When you travel like we do in an RV, and we live in the street, so you need to be a little bit logic, and we don't drive at night. If we see it's not a good, safe place, well, we try to find somewhere to park near, I don't know, a police office or firemen's, and nothing happens really in South and Central America, Nicaragua, Honduras. But there were a lot of cities that we avoid, places we avoid. We feel it's not a good place to camp.
Right. You don't want to, drag your family into a place that's not a good place to be.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about your books. What are the names of your books?
Well, it's a book the two books talks about the same. One has the 5 years on the road, and the other one more than 10 years. We tried to explain people that you don't need to take life so serious. That it's important to do what you like to do. You're gonna be a better person if you're happier. And to be happy, you need to work in something you like, do things you like. So it doesn't matter the money, because the money at the end, it always comes enough. People focused only on money, so they think with money I'm going to be happy, with money I can travel, with money I can do this or that. But if you change your focus and you focused on the way to live good, to do it, so the rest comes alone.
Yeah, it works itself out. Is
Yes,
what happens.
it's like a puzzle.
Yeah,
At the end, everything fix.
yeah. Everything is the way it falls, the way it should fall. So, how is it that you landed on the Malecon? Obviously, this is a plan, right? You maybe called ahead and said, "Hey, we're coming. Can we park on your Malecon?" And, how did that work out?
Well, we never contact the place before we reach,
Okay.
because we never know when we arrive.
Okay.
Sometimes we say, "Oh, we go 30 kilometers farther away," but maybe after 10 kilometers we see a nice beach or a nice farm. I don't know, and we stop and we stay 14 days. So, what we do if we run out of money? We go to a place. When we pass by a place, we say, "Oh, when we came here to Puerto Vallarta, it was time to work. We ran out of money again, so we drove with our bicycle around and search a place where we can park, because it's a big bus. It
Yeah,
has
it is.
9 meters large, 3.5 meter high. It's a passenger bus." So we look for a place where we could park and where people passing, so we can share with these people and offer the things we sell. So we found this spot, and then we went to the major and just asked if he could help us to stay a few days and share with people. We travel with our door open so people can visit us. We don't charge to visit. Maybe in the US everybody is used to see RVs, but in Latin America there's so many people who have never seen one inside,
Oh,
or
wow,
who
really?
can't imagine you can live in a bus. They think, "Oh, poor people living in a bus." But then we let visit and they say, "Oh, you have a kitchen. Oh, and you can go to the toilet and you wash. You have a shower." So. And they just let us here. Yeah,
Wow, that's pretty nice of them, isn't it?
I think
You got
we
you got a prime spot over here.
Yeah, people think sometimes we know very important people,
You must. You
or
must.
we pay
right?
a lot of money to stay in a place. Actually, we never pay one night to sleep.
Wow. Unbelievable. In how many years is this again?
Almost 14.
Almost
now,
14 years.
In November, it's going to be 14 years on the way. So.
Wow.
And people identify with us because we are doing something that a lot of people dream to do, but never even think to start to do, you know?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, you have been here just a week, and you said that you're going to move, and then you're going to spend a little bit of time in Vallarta, so that you can enjoy it, right? Become a tourist instead of a tourist attraction.
Yes. Well, we still enjoy, you know.
Yeah, sure.
Now we enjoy too. But
Yeah.
we want to know a little bit more about the beaches and
Well, good. Well, then you'll have to listen to my podcast. All right. Is there something that I'm missing? Is there something that we haven't talked about that we need to cover?
Well, I don't think we are normal tourists. You saw that.
Yeah, that's for sure.
When we start to travel, we start with the economy, so I say, and with a little bit money, and the way of traveling like that. When we ran out of money, I think it was the best thing that happens to us, because we changed the way of looking to life, to the way we see things. And we realize there's not so many things important in life. We're very free. We're free people, and we don't know that.
Well, you discovered the secret of life, and you don't know it.
Yes.
Right? Wow, that's fantastic. Okay, so tell us how people will find you. You're on the web. How do they find you? What's your website?
Well, we have no website.
Oh, you don't?
I
What do you
tried
have?
13 years to make one, and before traveling, I spend a lot of time in front of a computer because I worked as a photographer and the post-production, a lot of hours in front of a computer.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want that anymore. I decided 13 years ago to start living life.
Right.
And,
So how do people find you then if you're not?
Well, we made a Facebook
Okay.
a few years ago, so sometimes we put where we are, and we don't do any selling on internet or very few blogging, you know.
Mm-hmm.
We prefer have people that comes to us and
Talk to you.
talk to us, yeah.
And meet the people.
And meet people.
Meet
But-
la gente.
Yeah, eye to eye, you know.
Yeah,
How do you
yeah.
say that?
That's right. Face to face.
Face to face.
Eye to
yeah.
eye, face to face.
Yeah.
Or, you know, what we say in the real estate business is belly to belly. All right, then. What is your Facebook page?
It calls El Bicho Latino. El Bicho, it means a buck in Spanish, but actually it has a double meaning. It also means something ugly and weird. And when I bought this bus, it wasn't so good looking like now. And I thought, oh my God, this is really an ugly bus. So I call him El Bicho.
El Bicho.
El
You
Bicho.
ugly
And
bus,
now
yeah.
we say El Bicho to our house.
That's wonderful. Okay, I'm going to have links to the Facebook page so that you can locate them, and I'm also going to have pictures so you can see their smiling faces and this crazy bus with a picture of El Bicho. I see him right there. He's got the bug and he's got a house on his back. That's pretty cool. All right, so you're in Mexico. And after a week, you're going to be leaving here. I imagine leaving Puerto Vallarta. What's going to be your final stop? Where you're headed?
The first 10 years, we said we had written on the back that we go to Mexico. We're heading to Mexico. And once we arrived here in Mexico, we say, what we do now? We're in Mexico.
Right.
And
14 years later.
Yeah, and we don't want to stop anymore.
No, of course not. Why would you?
Not yet. So we decided to heading to Alaska. That is the forest place in America. We come from Patagonia, the most south, so we go to Alaska.
So you're going to Alaska. So you're going to go through the states.
Yes.
So we'll see you when you're coming through California, probably,
Yes,
won't you?
Yeah,
okay.
we pass by California.
All right, great. Well, that's really cool. All right, so all you folks on the West Coast, you'll be looking for them, right? How fun is that? All right, well, best of luck to you. I hope that you get all the way to Alaska. I bet you will.
Sometimes people say, I hope you go soon, you get soon to Alaska. And I say, no, soon not.
No, soon
we don't
not.
want to go
Another
soon.
14 years, honey.
I don't think so much time, but
Okay.
I think this year or next year we are in California.
Oh, how nice. All right, well, I'll be watching for you, all right? And, it's been a pleasure talking with you, and what a surprise to find you here on the Malecon.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people surprised to see us.
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, I'm getting a picture so that we'll preserve it for forever. And until then, thank you again for taking the time and talking with me and allowing me to introduce you to my listeners. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you.
Wow. 13 years. I checked up on the family, and they really haven't gone too far from Puerto Vallarta. Let's see, May is when we talked, and we are now in September, and they're still in Nayarit. They spent a lot of time on the beach, in the beach towns there, north of Vallarta. You know the towns, San Pancho and Sayulita and all the cool places. So I'm sure they had a great time there. I'm guessing that's going to be a while before they finally make it to Southern California. But when they do, I'll let you know, and maybe I'll get another interview from them. We'll find out a little bit more about their progress. You never know. I will be looking for them, and I will be bringing them on if they actually make it all the way up to Southern California. Of course, they're looking to hit Alaska. Good luck, folks. Good luck. That'll be another 13 years or more. Anyway, I have pictures of the bus, the inside and out of the bus. Pictures of Matu, of their daughter, and of course of Shanty. So check out all those things in the show notes. And of course you can follow them on their Facebook page, which I also have linked up as well in the show notes. So, wow, what a trip. That should do it for this week. Next week, let's stay tuned for more on-the-ground reports from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, with travel tips, great restaurant and excursion ideas, and more. But until then, remember that this is an interactive show where I depend on your questions and your suggestions about all things Puerto Vallarta. If you think of something that I should be talking about, well, please reach out to me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and send me your message. And remember, if you're considering booking any type of tour while you're in Puerto Vallarta, you must go to vallartainfo.com, that's JR's website, and reserve your tour through him, right from his website. Remember, this is a value-for-value proposition, my friends. His experience and on-the-ground knowledge of everything Puerto Vallarta in exchange for your making a purchase of a tour that you would do anyway. You're just doing it through him as a way of saying thank you. Thanks, JR, for being our guide. It costs no more than if you were using someone else, so do it, really. And when you do take one of those tours, email me about your experiences. Maybe you can come on board and share with others what you liked or didn't like about the tour. Again, contact me by clicking on the Contact Us tab and sending off a message. And don't forget, he's got his maps, his DIY tours, his revitalized happy hour board, and more, and I have links to all of those in the show notes as well. And once again, if you like this podcast, please take the time, subscribe, and give me a good review on iTunes if you would. That way we can get the word out to more and more people about the magic of this place, Puerto Vallarta, Mexico. Remember, I made it easy for you to do just that with each episode I create. But if you haven't been to my website, shame on you. Why haven't you? You really need to have a look over there. I've got links to the places that we talk about, interesting pictures and more, right there in my blog posting in the show notes for each and every episode of the show. So check them out for sure if you haven't. All right. All right. Thanks, Conor Watts. Thanks very much. We'll update you on the progress of El Granero, that new restaurant, and we'll talk about the brewery and how things are going there. I'm going to have pics of, like I said, thank you, Shanty, and Matu from El Bicho Latino, that magic green bus. Follow them, folks. Follow them on Facebook. Hey, thanks to all of you for listening all the way through this episode of the Puerto Vallarta Travel Show. This is Barry Kessler, signing off with a wish for all of you to slow down, be kind, and live the Vallarta lifestyle. Nos vemos, amigos.
De Puerto Vallarta, noche de arrullo en el mar, samba de Puerto Vallarta, noche de amor junto al mar. Solo camino eterno por la playa, me encuentro junto al río cuando todo está en calma. Pronto cae la noche, me brillas Puerto Vallarta.